Hey guys, it's Caitlin, and today I'm going to be filming a video going over my Women's World Cup experience and the things we did, games we saw, and just my overall opinion on the entire trip and tournament. So I'm going to get started going into the video, and I'm going to start by telling you guys what I did every day. So the first day was basically just a travel day. We went from LA to Chicago into Ottawa, and when we got into Ottawa, we went through baggage claim and customs and everything, and we went to go look for a cab or a currency exchange or anything like that. And I saw a sign over on the other side of the airport that just like said Ottawa on it. So I walked over there and was like, oh, I want to get a picture of this. So I walked over there, took the picture, and then as I was starting to head back, there were two people standing to my right. They were like, oh, here it goes. So like I kind of look over to my left towards the escalators, and sorry, the music might be too loud. And like a whole group of girls started coming down the escalator. So I turned and walked back to my family, and I'm like, some team just showed up. Because obviously that was kind of the only explanation. Like, why else are a bunch of girls wearing the same thing going to be coming down the escalator, kind of? So I go back over there, and it turned out it was the Norwegian team. So I went over there, and I asked two of the players for a picture. And I was able to get a picture with Maria Thorisdottir and Ada Hegerberg. I'm sorry if I mispronounced those. But I got a picture with them, and then I was able to actually get their autograph as well as other girls from the team's autographs. And so I just got them in this book. And that right away was a great start to the whole trip, because just coming in off the traveling, and I kind of like thought like, oh, what if we could run into someone? Like, that'd be really cool. But I never thought it actually happened, so to meet them at the airport like that was just a great start to the trip, and it just set a really great precedence for the entire trip itself. On our second day of the trip, we woke up and we went downstairs for breakfast. And I was kind of the first one of my family to go down to breakfast, so I went down, and then when the rest of my family came down, I was basically done with breakfast and went back upstairs. And I ended up finding out later that I guess Renee Cuellar, the forward for the Mexican national team, her parents were staying at the same hotel as us. So like my parents and sister were kind of talking to their parents kind of about her experiences with the national team and how she preferred the Mexican team over the U.S. team because she played for some youth U.S. teams. So that was pretty cool that they got to talk to her parents. And then I've got notes over here, so I'm probably going to like look at them a few times. But after that, we went walking around the city. As you guys probably know, Ottawa is the capital of Canada. So there was a lot of sightseeing to do. So we kind of walked over towards Parliament Hill and just looked around, like saw what there was to offer, took some pictures and things like that. And then there was a rib fest going on, so we kind of backtracked a little bit to like go look at that and check it out to kind of get some ideas for dinner or lunch or like future meals or whatever. So we backtracked towards that, and then me and my dad ended up seeing a bus. So we kind of walked over because it had like the different FIFA like tournament colors and logos on it. So we walked over to see what was going on, and it ended up being the bus for the Spanish national team. So we just kind of hung around that area for a bit, and over the course of probably an hour at the absolute most, we were able to meet players from the Spanish and South Korean teams. Once again, I had them sign like their pages in this book, and I was able to get about 6 from each team, so that was really cool getting to meet them. And then we went back to do a little bit more sightseeing, and we ended up seeing the French team walking by on their like team walk. So I was able to get a couple autographs from those players, and then we ended up walking back towards the Rib Fest area where we saw the bus, and I got to meet a bunch of the German players. Like, there was a really good amount of players standing out there, so I just kind of like walked over there and was able to get maybe 10 of the players. Yeah, about 10 of the players. And that was really cool because I kind of went into the tournament and Germany was one of the top 3 teams I was going to be rooting for. So to be able to see them, and especially a lot of those players that I look up to and I really admire, and I also got to meet Nadine Ongerer, who's like one of the best goalies in the world, and I'm a goalkeeper, so meeting her was really great. And at that point, it was only the second day of the tournament, and we met a whole bunch of people, something I hadn't even planned on happening, so that was really cool. And then that night, we went to see 2 games. The first game that we saw was Mexico against France, and obviously France ended up winning by a pretty big margin, but it was a really good game. And after that was South Korea against Spain, and that was a really good game. It was really close. We were seated right next to the South Korean fans, so as South Korea kind of like came back from that deficit, like the stadium was lively. There was a lot of cheering, a lot of energy in the stadium, and it was a really good game, and that just kind of made it a second great day of the trip. The following day, there weren't any games or anything like that, so we just took it as like a sightseeing day, and we walked maybe 2 miles from our hotel down to the Royal Canadian Mint, and we took a tour of the factory, I guess you could call it, and we got to see some coins being made and look at some coins that had been made in the past. And we walked through the Byward Market, which is, I don't want to call it downtown Ottawa because I'm not actually sure if it is downtown Ottawa, but we went through the Byward Market and just kind of looked around, and as I said, it was basically just a sightseeing day. On the 4th day of our trip, we rented a car in the early morning, and we drove about 2.5 hours northeast to Montreal, and we basically spent about half a day in Montreal. We went to the botanical gardens first and walked around for about 2 hours, and then we went to the Olympic Stadium to just look at it, kind of, and then we went to this outlook that kind of overlooked Montreal. I've got a picture. It just kind of overlooked Montreal, and it was really cool. You could see the Olympic Stadium and just different sites around Montreal, so that was really cool. And then after we did that, we headed back towards Ottawa because we had to return the car. But going on that little excursion was really cool. It really was kind of like walking. It was kind of like walking in another country, even though it was obviously still Canada. But we ended up going to Tim Hortons for lunch, and nobody there spoke English. So it was really cool kind of seeing that whole like French aspect of Canada, and kind of how into like French / France they are over there. And so that was a really cool experience, just kind of seeing that other side of Canada, if that makes any sense.